and welcome back to my Gender Data Gap series. This is the third part and will contain examples of how your seatbelt should and should not fit on you due to the lack of vehicle regulations requiring female testing in cars before manufacturing and marketing, and the lack of an accurate female dummy to test with. The female population, which is about 58% of the United States population, is at a higher risk of severe injury or death when in an accident of similar severity to a male in the similar situation. Now, here's a diagram that demonstrates the proper fit of a seatbelt and how it should rest over your shoulder and lap. It shouldn't be on your neck, it should go right over your shoulder and have no possibility of slipping off. It should go right across your chest, and the lap should go over your lap, your upper thigh, and not your stomach or waist. And then your knees should bend comfortably over the edge of the seat. Now, the following will contain some examples of a few people wearing their seatbelt the way they normally would, and we'll be focusing on the shoulder and the lap belt and how those fit. Hopefully, you can use this information to configure your seatbelt setup for optimal safety, and we'll be going over what is and is not a correct and safe way to wear your seatbelt. Now, this first person looks like they're leaning forward a little bit, but her seatbelt does fit that shoulder correctly. However, her lap belt goes over her stomach area and not her actual lap. That's due to female legs on average being shorter than a male's. So we have to sit out of position in order to reach those pedals, which prevent the lap belt from properly fitting over our lap. All right. And now we have our next example. It looks like if you were to follow that seatbelt right up, it fits over the shoulder properly, and it looks like this lap belt goes over their lap properly. So her seatbelt is actually correct, and that would be a very good, safe, optimal way to drive. Our next example, it looks like the seatbelt is right over her neck and it looks quite uncomfortable, and that seatbelt goes straight over her stomach, not even close to being over her lap. Again, because she's sitting fairly far forward in the seat to reach the pedals, that lap belt can't properly configure itself to be over her lap. All right, our next example, it looks like this person is wearing that shoulder belt relatively properly. It might be a little close to that neck, and this lap goes right over their lap. So that would be a relatively properly fitting seatbelt. Perhaps that shoulder could go lower. Our next example, this shoulder belt again goes pretty well over that shoulder. It might slip off a little bit. I can't see from this angle. So perhaps maybe move that seatbelt up if possible. And it looks like this lap belt goes right over their stomach instead of their lap. So again, that would potentially be fixed by moving that seat down and back so you can still reach. But depending on the car and depending on how that seat can move, that might not be possible. And our last example here, again, it looks like if you were to follow that seatbelt up, it'll fit that shoulder properly. But again, this lap belt is right over their stomach because, again, the female leg length is shorter on average than a male's. Um, some cars do have a feature that allows you to move the steering wheel and the pedals forward. But if you don't have one of those newer features, then it can be really difficult to configure your seat and your seatbelt arrangement properly. So let's go back to that example for you. This is how that seatbelt should fit properly on you. And if it doesn't fit that way, you are at a higher risk of injury if you do get in an accident. So drive safely. Try and fix that seatbelt so it does give you the optimal safety. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please put them down in the comments and I'll try and answer as many of them as possible. I'll also be linking the previous two videos down in the bio, and I believe they should pop up on your screen relatively soon. And I do encourage all of you guys to watch those first two videos for some context and to learn about the basics of the gender data gap. Thank you, and you have a great day.